Most anglers know about fishing nymphs and dries on lakes, but what about emergers, that stage between nymph and adult? Today I'm going to break down 4 of my top emerging patterns and flies that every angler should carry on the Stillwater so that they can fish that emerging hatch. Let's get to it in this episode of the Stillwater Edge Podcast.
Welcome to Stillwater Edge, the ultimate podcast for stillwater fly fishing enthusiasts. I'm your host, Greg Keenan, and in each short, action-packed episode, I'll share expert tips, essential techniques, and clever tricks to help you elevate your stillwater fly fishing game to the next level.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Greg Keenan, and today we're going to dive into an episode that is emergers. So the transition from subsurface to surface. Trout feed heavily on these vulnerable bugs, and if you know what that emerger pattern is and when to use it, you'll hook more fish, especially on those days when trout ignore your standard nymph or your dry flies. So let's get to it right now. Lots to cover. So number one is that emerging stage in that subsurface. And you always hear me talk about that surface film, like a broken record, because it's productive. That's why I always talk about it, because it's productive. It's also very, very overlooked. When you see fish rolling or boiling at the top, oftentimes they're taking bugs in the emerging stage. And that's when people are like, what are they doing? And people are frustrated because most often when that's happening is you're fishing down, say, 20 feet, and those fish are hitting, 1 foot under the surface, if not at the surface. So that's very frustrating. We're going to talk about a few bugs and flies that are going to get you in there, and when it works, how it works, few line choices, and some other options to get you guys fishing that area right now. So number one is Chironomid Emergers. I mean, pretty simple. 80-90% of a trout's diet is chironomids, so would make most sense when they're just about to pop right under the surface there. I've had days where I've fished a chironomid a foot under the surface, and it's just stupid. You couldn't even put your rod down. It is just stupid. Catch fish, let it go. Catch fish, let it. It's just stupid. However, it's also fun, right? It's crazy. So these are critical because chironomids make up a bulk of a trout's diet. They're fish just below the surface film. You can either do an indicator, a naked line, a midge-tip line, suspended midge-tip line, or a grease leader. There's one for you too. They're great for when you're seeing those bulging rises of clean heads and tails, right? So you see those splooshes, right? Those are emergers, man. They are taking those emergers, and it's perfect. And that is usually when I'm guiding. People always ask me, what are they doing? I'm like, right away, I have my midge tip out there, and I'm like, let's try and get one like this. Very, very effective. Next is a Callibaetis Emerger. Great fly. Mayflies emerging sit trapped in the surface film. So they're sitting right at the surface, right? It works when the hatches, when the trout key in just before the mayfly is about to switch to a dynamite flyaway and all that sort of stuff, right? That's when you're going to want to fish that. So you cast out, let it sit there. Just sit there and sit there and sit there. When they're keyed in on that, that is effective, right? And what do? You just let it dead drift. You can give it subtle little switches, maybe little tugs, but just kind of let it dead drift. If you're in the zone and they're keyed in on that, you will get hit. If they're in the zone and they're keyed in on that particular fly, the Callibaetis Emerger fly, like that mayfly emerger, and you just let it sit there and give it a little twitch, you will get hit. It just takes patience, right? You're mimicking a struggling insect before it's about to take off. So, all right, Caddis Pupae Emergers. These are fun to fish. And full transparency, I do this a lot, and I don't have the luck that I should. But you know what? They're still fun to fish, and that's on me. So trout intercept these caddis right in the surface film as they're about to pop and fly away. So when that caddis comes up and they're just at that surface film, and that's where I have the trouble. You're out, you're casting, you're at that surface film and you're fishing it, slow hand twist, you're pulling that, giving it the movement. Maybe it's just not thick of enough of a hatch when I do it all the time. But you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, that is super, super, super fun. And if you have had that success, please write to me. Let me know, guys, because I want to get on that. And I really want to have a great day of that. I want to get clients on that as well. So for sure. It's really effective though. Highly effective. It's a great way. It's a must-have for evenings, and I've tried it so many evenings. When you see those rises and those splashes, and you're like, well, yeah, what are those trout doing? And you're still fishing the bottom. 90% of the people are still fishing the bottom, but they're at the top. So keep that in mind. This is that emerging stage. It's critical. That surface film is critical. So number 4, last fly, Damsel Emergers. Right, so damsels, they crawl and swim. That's what they're trying to do. But some get stuck at the surface. when they're transitioning into adults. So this is a great time at ice off on some lakes here in British Columbia. And it's also another time that it's really good is in June and July when the damsels are hatching. You want to fish it near weeded areas with short movement, little hand retrieves, all that sort of stuff. Again, critical fly. Fishing damsels it's so much fun. It's great. It is a lot of fun. So that's literally my top 4 flies for when you're going to fish emergers in still waters. I can't really think of too much more that isn't covered there. If you got a fly, I'd love to know. But some quick tips for fishing emergers before I let you guys go, because I want you guys to look for things. When you see those bulges, like the trout are just taking it under the surface film, and there you see those rises or those sips and slurps and those backs and tails coming out, they're hitting emergers. Why are you still fishing 18 feet down if you're not getting anything? Think about that, okay? Another thing is fish emergers higher in the water column, higher than you think. So if you think that they're, 5 feet under the water, I guarantee they're at 2. So don't be afraid to fish them really high. Like, honestly, like half the time you're not even going to use an indicator when you're doing it. You can. It's great for kids. So definitely, and again, watching that indie go under. Grease line is another one for you guys. Try a grease line to suspend your flies. Make sure, again, another tip, make sure if you are fishing emergers, use a mono leader. Switch out the fluoro leader. Use that mono leader for sure. This is a time where that mono leader is going to shine. So also, slow your presentations down as well when you're fishing that surface film. Slow them down. Those bugs are trying to hatch. They're not super fast. And then carry both swimmer imitations and patterns, right? I always say sparse is good. So honestly, that's it for this episode. Fishing emergers at that stage where anglers often overlook it. But adding these 4 patterns to your box and fishing them the way I mentioned with the lines, how I mentioned, it's going to put you on more fish. I guarantee it. And it's also fun to watch. Nothing makes me more happier than watching something happen at the surface. So, all right, guys, if you're new to Stillwater fly fishing, make sure you grab my free PDFs. It's all on my website. It's all on my Instagram. All that sort of stuff. It's going to help you guys build a stronger foundation. Also, if you're looking to fast track your learning, now's the time to book trips for this upcoming spring. Prime dates are already filling fast, again, on my website. So as always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys on the water.